I was standing in our kitchen that evening, stirring a pot of homemade marinara sauce, waiting for Megan to come home. In just 2 weeks, I was going to propose to her. I had already bought the ring. I had already picked the restaurant. Everything was ready. She texted me earlier saying she was grabbing dinner with Derek, her best friend from college. I trusted her completely, but when she walked through that door later that night, something sparkled on her hand that I never expected to see. Before we dive into this story, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. If you have ever trusted someone with your whole heart, only to have that trust shattered into pieces, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you believe that true love should never make you question your worth, stay with me through this entire journey. My name is Travis, and I am 28 years old. I work as a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company in Austin, Texas. 3 years ago, my life changed completely when I met Megan at a company networking event. She had just moved to the city for a new marketing position, and she barely knew anyone in town. I remember seeing her standing alone by the refreshment table, looking a little lost but trying to hide it behind a polite smile. Something about her drew me in immediately. Maybe it was the way her eyes lit up when she laughed, or the gentle way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. We talked for hours that night, discovering we had so much in common. She loved hiking just like me. She was obsessed with true crime podcasts just like me. She believed in building a life based on genuine connection rather than superficial things. We exchanged numbers, and over the next 2 months, we went from casual texting to long phone calls to spending every weekend together. When I finally asked her to be my girlfriend, she said yes without hesitation. That was 2.5 years ago, and I thought we were building something real. During our time together, I was always there for her. When she lost her job 8 months into our relationship, I covered her rent for 3 months without ever asking for it back. When she got sick with the flu and could not get out of bed for a week, I took time off work to take care of her. I cooked her soup, brought her medicine, and held her hand through the fever. I introduced her to my mother, and they bonded instantly. Mom always said Megan was like the daughter she never had. About a year ago, we decided to move in together. We found a nice one-bedroom apartment not far from downtown, and I signed the lease under my name. Everything felt like it was falling into place. I was certain that Megan was the woman I would spend the rest of my life with. Then about 8 months ago, Derek came back into her life. Megan mentioned him casually one evening while scrolling through her phone. She said they had reconnected through social media after years of not talking. Derek was her close friend from college, she explained. They used to hang out all the time before graduation, but then life got busy and they drifted apart. Now he had moved to Austin for work, and she was excited to catch up with him. A few weeks later, she suggested we all meet up. I agreed, wanting to be supportive. We met at a coffee shop near our apartment on a Saturday afternoon. Derek arrived in an expensive-looking suit, driving a sleek black car that probably cost more than I made in 2 years. He was tall, confident, and had the kind of smile that made you feel like he was selling you something. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. When he shook my hand, his grip was firm but brief, like I was an afterthought. He barely looked at me during the conversation. Instead, his attention was fixed entirely on Megan. He kept touching her shoulder when he talked, leaning in too close, laughing a little too hard at her jokes. He kept bringing up memories from their college days, inside jokes that I was not part of. I told myself I was overthinking it. They were just old friends reconnecting. There was nothing wrong with that. But something in my gut felt uneasy, a tiny alarm bell that I chose to ignore. Over the following weeks, Megan started seeing Derek more often. At first, it was once a month for coffee or lunch. Then it became every other week. Then it was almost every week. Each time she came home from seeing him, her eyes seemed brighter, her mood lighter. She would tell me stories about their conversations, about how Derek understood her in ways that other people did not. One night, while Megan was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. I was not the type to snoop, but the screen lit up with a preview of the message. It was from Derek. The text read, "I miss our talks. You always understood me better than anyone." My stomach dropped. I tried to convince myself it was innocent. When Megan came out of the shower, I casually asked her about it. She laughed it off and said Derek was just going through a rough patch at work and needed someone to vent to. She said I had nothing to worry about. I wanted to believe her. I really did. My best friend Marcus was not so convinced. Marcus worked with me at the same company, and he had met Derek briefly at a barbecue we hosted. After that meeting, Marcus pulled me aside and said something that stuck with me. "Man, be careful. That guy looks at her like she is more than just a friend." I brushed it off. I told Marcus he was being paranoid. Megan loved me. She would never do anything to hurt me. We had been through too much together. Looking back now, I wish I had listened to him. 3 months before everything fell apart, I started noticing changes in Megan that I could not explain away. She became distant in ways that felt deliberate. Our conversations grew shorter. She spent more time on her phone texting and smiling at messages she never shared with me. When I asked who she was talking to, she would say it was just work stuff or friends from the office. The little things we used to do together started disappearing. We used to cook dinner together every night, experimenting with new recipes and making a mess of the kitchen. But now she always said she was too tired after work. She would grab something quick and retreat to the couch, scrolling through her phone until she fell asleep. I tried to rekindle things. I planned date nights at our favorite restaurants, suggested weekend trips to places we always wanted to visit. But she always had an excuse. She was busy with a project. She was not feeling well. She already had plans with coworkers. Each rejection felt like a small cut, and eventually those cuts started to add up. Our intimate life faded too. Faded. She would turn away when I reached for her at night, saying she was exhausted. I started sleeping on my side of the bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I had done wrong. I tried to change myself, thinking maybe I was not being attentive enough, not supportive enough, not exciting enough. But nothing seemed to work. Meanwhile, Derek became more and more present in our lives. He started showing up at events that used to be just for us. When we hosted a small gathering for my birthday, Megan invited him without asking me first. He arrived with an expensive bottle of whiskey and spent most of the evening talking to Megan in the corner while I entertained my other guests. For Megan's birthday, Derek outdid everyone. He showed up with a designer handbag that I later found out cost at least $2,000. When I saw her face light up as she opened it, something inside me cracked. I had bought her a beautiful necklace that I saved up for months to afford. But it suddenly felt inadequate compared to what Derek could give her. I told Megan that the gift seemed excessive for just a friend. She got defensive immediately. She said I was being insecure and jealous that Derek was simply generous by nature. She said he was like a brother to her, and I needed to stop making things weird. That phrase, like a brother, was supposed to comfort me. Instead, it made me feel foolish for ever questioning her. A few weeks later, Derek invited Megan to be his +1 at his company's annual gala. She agreed without even asking me if I was okay with it. When I expressed my discomfort, she exploded. She accused me of being controlling, possessive, unable to handle her having male friends. She said if I could not trust her, maybe we had bigger problems. I backed down. I always back down. I did not want to lose her over something that might just be my imagination running wild. But then came the night that shook me more than anything else. I woke up at 2 in the morning to find her side of the bed empty. I walked out to the living room and found her sitting on the balcony phone, pressed to her ear, speaking in a low voice. I stood in the doorway listening. "I know," she said softly. "I know. Things are complicated right now. Just give me more time." When she noticed me standing there, she quickly ended the call. I asked who she was talking to at that hour. She said it was a coworker dealing with a crisis on a project and needed advice. Something about her explanation felt hollow, rehearsed, but I was too tired to argue, so I went back to bed. Despite all the warning signs, I convinced myself that things would get better. I believed that proposing would fix everything. I thought that if I showed her how committed I was, she would remember why she fell in love with me in the first place. I had been saving for months to buy an engagement ring. It was not huge or flashy. It was a modest diamond on a simple gold band. But it meant everything to me. I spent hours picking it out, imagining the moment I would get down on one knee. I planned to propose at the Italian restaurant where we had our very first date. I made a reservation for 2 weeks out, requested the same corner table where we sat 3 years ago. I even wrote a speech practicing it in front of the bathroom mirror like a nervous teenager. Marcus was the only person I told about my plan. When I showed him the ring, he did not look as excited as I expected. He hesitated, then said he hoped I knew what I was doing. I assured him that everything would be fine. Megan and I just needed something to bring us closer again. My mother called me a few days before the planned proposal. We talked for almost an hour, and at the end, she said something that stayed with me. "Son, I have a bad feeling I cannot shake. Are you sure everything is okay between you two?" I told her we were happy, that I had never been more certain about anything. She did not push further, but I could hear the worry in her voice. The night before everything changed, I lay next to Megan in bed, watching her sleep. Her breathing was soft and steady. Her face looked peaceful. I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. This was the woman I was going to marry. This was the woman I would build my future with. I had no idea that in less than 24 hours, every dream I had would come crashing down. The morning of that day started like any other. Megan woke up before me, showered, and got ready for work. Before she left, she mentioned casually that she would be having dinner with Derek that evening. He had just received a promotion, and she wanted to celebrate with him. I smiled and congratulated Derek through her. I told her I would prepare something special for when she got home. Maybe we could watch a movie together afterward, I suggested. She nodded quickly, grabbed her purse, and headed out the door. I left work early that afternoon. I stopped at the grocery store and bought fresh ingredients for pasta carbonara, Megan's favorite dish. I picked up a bottle of red wine and some flowers to put on the table. When I got home, I cleaned the apartment until it was spotless. I set up candles around the living room and dining area, creating a warm, romantic atmosphere. By 7:30, everything was ready. The pasta was keeping warm in the oven. The wine was breathing on the counter. I sat down on the couch and sent Megan a text asking when she would be home. She replied quickly, "Should not be too late. Having a good time." 8 o'clock passed, then 9, then 10. I tried calling her around 9:30, but she did not answer. I told myself she was just caught up in conversation, that she would be home soon. The candles burned down to stubs. The pasta grew cold. At 11:15, I heard the key turn in the lock. I jumped up from the couch and walked toward the door, relief flooding through me. But when Megan stepped inside, something stopped me cold. She was holding her left hand in a strange way, almost protectively, and then I saw it. A diamond ring. Huge. Glittering under the hallway light, on her ring finger. My mind could not process what I was seeing. My voice came out cracked and barely audible. "What is that on your finger?" Megan looked down at her hand, then back up at me. Her expression was calm, almost detached. There was no guilt in her eyes, no shame, no regret. "Derek proposed tonight," she said flatly. And I said yes. The world tilted. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest and knocked all the air out of my lungs. I reached for the wall to steady myself. I asked her to explain, to tell me this was some kind of sick joke, but she just walked past me into the living room and sat down on the couch like nothing had happened. What she told me next broke something inside me that I am not sure will ever fully heal. She admitted that she and Derek had developed feelings for each other over the past several months. The first time they kissed was 4 months ago after one of their dinners. She said things just escalated from there. She did not go into detail, but she did not need to. The implication was clear enough. Derek could give her things I never could. She said, a bigger house, a nicer car, financial security, a lifestyle without worrying about bills or budgets. "Travis, you are a good guy," she continued, her voice almost clinical. "But you are not going anywhere. I need someone who can provide for me. Someone with ambition." I reminded her of everything I had done for her. The months of rent I paid when she lost her job. The nights I stayed up taking care of her when she was sick. The way I always put her needs before my own. She shrugged. "That was sweet, but sweet does not pay the bills." Something snapped inside me. I walked to the bedroom and retrieved the small velvet box I had hidden in my sock drawer. I brought it back to the living room and placed it on the coffee table in front of her. "I was going to propose to you," I said quietly. "In 2 weeks, at the restaurant where we had our first date." Megan opened the box and looked at the ring inside. Then she looked at the massive diamond on her own hand. She actually laughed, a short, dismissive sound that cut deeper than any words could. This, this is what you were going to propose with that laugh. That condescending, cruel laugh. It echoed in my ears like a gunshot. For a long moment, I stood there in silence. The pain was overwhelming, crushing, suffocating. But then something shifted. The fog of shock began to clear, and in its place came a strange, cold clarity. I reached down and picked up my ring from the table. I closed the box and slipped it into my pocket. Then I looked directly into Megan's eyes. "You know what I said?" My voice steady for the first time all night. "Thank you." She looked confused. "Thank you for what?" "Thank you for showing me who you really are before I made the biggest mistake of my life." Her expression flickered. She had not expected that. I told her to pack her things and leave. Tonight. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Tonight. She protested. She said she needed time to figure out where to go to arrange things with Derek. But I did not budge. "You made your choice the moment you said yes to him," I said. "Now live with it." I called Marcus and asked him to come over. He arrived in 20 minutes, no questions asked. For the next 2 hours, Megan packed her belongings while Marcus and I watched. She moved slowly at first, maybe hoping I would change my mind, but I stayed silent. I stayed firm. When she finally had all her bags by the door, she turned to look at me one last time. "You will regret this," she said. "Derek is twice the man you will ever be." I met her gaze without flinching. Maybe I replied. But at least I know my worth. And you just showed me yours. The door closed behind her with a heavy thud. Marcus put a hand on my shoulder, but I barely felt it. I walked to the middle of the living room and sank down to the floor. The candles had long burned out. The apartment smelled like cold pasta and extinguished flames. And for the first time that night, I let myself cry. The first week after Megan left was the hardest of my life. Sleep became almost impossible. Every corner of the apartment held memories of her. The coffee mug she always used, the blanket she liked to curl up under on the couch, the empty space in the closet where her clothes used to hang. I took 3 days off work. I barely ate. I spent most of my time lying in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship and trying to pinpoint where things went wrong. Was it something I did? Something I failed to do? Was I not enough for her from the very beginning? Marcus came by every day without fail. He did not try to offer advice or empty platitudes. He just sat with me, brought me food, and made sure I was still breathing. Sometimes silence from a true friend is worth more than 1,000 words. My mother called me the day after it happened. When I told her what Megan had done, she cried. Not for Megan, but for me. She said something that would stay with me forever. "Son, it is better to hurt once now than to hurt for a lifetime with someone who does not deserve you." Slowly, I began the process of erasing Megan from my life. I deleted every photo of us from my phone. I packed up the things she left behind and donated them to charity. I found the engagement ring in my jacket pocket and stared at it for a long time before putting it in a box and tucking it away in my closet. Maybe one day I would sell it. Maybe not. But I did not want to look at it anymore. After 2 weeks, I forced myself to go back to work. Staying busy helped keep my mind from spiraling. I threw myself into projects, volunteering for extra assignments, staying late at the office. My boss noticed my dedication and started giving me more responsibilities. I also made changes to my physical health. I signed up for a gym membership and started working out every morning before sunrise. At first, it was just a way to exhaust myself so I could sleep at night. But eventually, I started to enjoy it. The routine gave me structure. The progress gave me something to feel good about. 3 months after the breakup, I received a promotion at work along with a significant raise. It was the first time in a long while that I felt genuinely proud of myself. I started traveling on weekends, nothing extravagant, just day trips to state parks, small towns, places I had always wanted to explore but never did. I went alone most of the time and I learned to enjoy my own company. I realized that being alone was not the same as being lonely. I joined a hiking group organized by some coworkers. That is where I met new people who became genuine friends. People who valued me for who I was, not for what I could provide for them. 6 months after Megan walked out of my life, I moved to a new apartment. A fresh start in a new space. The day I signed the lease, I felt like I was finally closing a chapter that had dragged on for too long. Around the 8-month mark, I heard news through a mutual acquaintance. Megan and Derek had called off their engagement. It turned out that Derek was not nearly as wealthy as he pretended to be. The fancy car was leased. The expensive gifts were bought on credit. Most of his lifestyle was funded by debt and deception. When Megan discovered the truth, she left him. Just like she left me. Except this time, she was the one who got played. A few days later, I received a text from Megan. She apologized. She said she had made a terrible mistake. She asked if we could meet up and talk. I read her message 3 times. I thought about everything we had been through. The good times and the bad. The love I once felt, and the betrayal that destroyed it. Then I deleted the message without replying. I did not feel angry anymore. I did not feel vindicated or satisfied. I just felt at peace. Megan was part of my past now, and that is exactly where she belonged. Looking back on everything, I have learned something important. The worst moments of our lives often turn out to be blessings in disguise. If Megan had said yes to my proposal, I would have married someone who never truly loved me. I would have built a life on a foundation of lies. Her betrayal hurt more than anything I have ever experienced, but it also set me free. I do not hate Megan. I do not wish her harm. I simply wish her well from a distance and hope she finds whatever it is she is looking for. As for me, I have found something better than I ever expected. I have found peace. I have found self-respect. I have found the understanding that my worth is not determined by whether someone chooses to stay or leave. If you are going through something similar right now, I want you to hear this. The person who truly loves you will never make you feel like you are not enough. They will never compare you to someone else. They will never make you question your value. And sometimes the best thing another person can do for you is walk away, because it opens the door to the life you were always meant to live. Tonight, I am sitting on the balcony of my new apartment, watching the sun set over the city. The sky is painted in shades of orange and gold. There is a warm breeze, and for the first time in a very long time, I feel completely at peace. I do not know what the future holds. But I know that whatever comes next, I will face it as a stronger, wiser, and more complete version of myself. And that is more than enough. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever trusted someone completely only to be betrayed? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is going through the same thing. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. May you always find the courage to know your worth and never settle for less than you deserve. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.